Hi, and welcome to this guide in which we will build a Famister AV. Famister AV is basically a 3D printed case specially designed around the QM-Tech MiSTer clone boards. The QM-Tech boards have a few interesting specificities that allow us to achieve that console-like look. First, the integrated I/O board directly includes 4 USB ports conveniently positioned to the front of the board, negating the need for a dedicated USB board. The integration of the SDRAM directly on the FPGA board is also a welcome addition, saving us a bit of space. Finally, the QM-Tech board have separate 5V power header, allowing us to power the system without using standard barrel jack. For this build, you will need the QM-Tech MiSTer board itself. They are usually available on AliExpress. However, try to be mindful of the seller you're buying from, as it appears that some of them do sell low quality boards that tend to have problems, especially with some of the more demanding cores such as the Saturn or the N64. The HamGeek clone that is being sold recently might also work, even though I didn't try them myself. Unfortunately, the case might not work with the standard DE10 Nano from Terasic or the MiSTer Pi boards. For this project, you will require a few extra elements. 2 flat flex cable USB extension. The male side can be either straight or angled, depending on your need, but it's important that the female side is exactly the one that is used in this guide. For the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity, I recommend that you use a combo dongle, such as this one, that is commonly used for MiSTer. One 15x6mm by 7x6mm by 7mm sliding switch with 6 terminal and a 6mm lever. One 10mm panel mountable barrel jack for power. One 2-prongs JST plug with the wire included if possible. A panel mountable Ethernet extension cable. You will have to be careful to use a left cornered male plug, otherwise you may have to remove the sleeve for it to fit into the tight space that is available. A M.2 SSD drive with an external USB case. There is no specific model required, as the Famister AV has been designed to accommodate pretty much any of them. For the drive itself, focus on the drive capacity and reliability more than the speed, because you'll be limited to USB 2.0 anyway. You can also integrate a NFC reader directly to the case for a seamless Zaparoo integration. To do so, you should use a standard PN532 reader such as this one. For 8mm M4 screws, some 6 or 8mm M3 screws and some 20mm long ones, about a dozen of each should get you covered. Now, for the build itself. First, you will need to remove the original case that came with the system. Keep the original M3 screws handy, as we are going to need them very soon. Remove the SD card from the slot. This is very important, since it will get in the way and you might damage both the card and the board if you fail to do so. Remove the 3 light pipes from the top board and insert them directly into the holes of the Famister case. It's a tight fit, but you can use the back of a screwdriver to push them in. It will also be a good time to glue the 3 button caps in place. They have a tendency to fly around, and it will be a major hassle later. Now, take the bottom part of the case and put the MiSTer in place. The back part should line up quite nicely with the back plate. Use 4 of the original M3 screws to secure the board to the case. If you want to use the M2 drive, drop it in the dedicated space and use one of the 2 channeled holders to secure the back of the case in place with 2 6mm M3 screws. If you want to use the Ethernet extension, simply screw it to the back plate using the two holes to keep it in place. Note that you have to orient the locking tab upwards, otherwise you won't be able to screw the adapter to the plate, since it's not symmetrical. Now connect the Ethernet extension and the drive to the board. Use a short USB Type-C cable to connect the drive and fit the wire twice through the channels of the front holder in order to make a loop. You can directly screw the front holder with two 6mm M3 screws, or you can stack an extra holder that will require two 20mm M3 screws. This stack holder is useful for cable management. Tuck the Ethernet cable to the left of the drive. You can use the sidewalls to help with the routing. They are here to give you a visual hint and prevent the wires to go too wild when you try to close down the case. Note that the screws can thread directly through the plastic, even with PLA, which is what I used. As you can see here, I designed the tabs all around the screw holes. These tabs ensure a better holding, even with standard machine screws, such as those that we are using now. You can go pretty hard, though obviously not too much. It's quite secure. Install the power barrel to the back panel. Be careful not to damage the plastic thread of the bodies while screwing the holding nut. It could be a good idea to put a dab of glue in order to secure the nut in place once it's screwed. Now, take the two parts of the USB bracket. First, insert the female side of each cable into the socket. It is tight fit, so be sure to insert them completely. Then, slide the back part, only leaving the flat connector hanging. Connect the flex cables on both male and female side. Before you connect them to the board, wiggle the bracket in place. It should be able to drop on the holding rail at the bottom of the case. Then, secure the bracket with one 20mm long M3 screw. Now, you can route the flex cables out of the way and plug the male sides to the board. You can use the stacked holder to help keeping some of these cables in place. In my case, I used an USB doubler to connect them both to the same port in order to save one socket. Plug the Wi-Fi Bluetooth dongle to one of the remaining sockets of the board. Now we can put the bottom part aside and focus on the top case. First, install the top plate. Align the slot of the plate with the tab of the case and use two of the original 4mm M3 screws to secure the plate. Since the screws are shorter, I recommend extra care here, not to strip the holes while tightening. Insert the power switch through the hole. Be mindful of the orientation. The wire side should face up. Push it through the slot. It is friction held and should not move once inserted. Take the power button cap, keep the power writing facing you and push the cap on the switch lever. Be very careful when making your power connection. You do not want to mix the polarities. If you want to use a Zaparoo reader, insert the 4 holding pins into the holes of the reader PCB. The USB connector should be facing towards the power switch. Use the dedicated Zaparoo holders to keep the PCB in place. One of them has a slot for the USB connector. Use 4 6mm M3 screws to secure the board in place. Use a short USB Type-C to Type-A for the connection. And now we're almost done. Take the bottom part of the case next to the top one. Keep the top part standing on its side, then plug the Zaparoo board if you have it, and then the power supply wire to the white JST connector labeled J5. You can also slide a wire through the stacked holder to keep it tidy. Connect the input side of your power switch to the power barrel. Once again, be careful not to plug it backwards. Now comes the crucial time to close down the case. Try to keep all the wires as tidy as possible. Make sure that they do not cross the sidewalls. Then simply place the top case down. It should fall right in place. If there is any resistance, open the case, check that there is no pinched wire, then try again until it naturally fits. When it's closed, use the 4 M4 screws to hold the two parts together. Then, use 3 short M3 screws to hold the back plate. This is important, especially since the back right corner, where the MiSTer is located, cannot be held from the bottom. This also gives better stiffness to the back plate. Now, check that everything is working. Insert the SD card, plug the power supply and the HDMI display, then slide the power switch to the on position. The power LED should turn on, and after a couple of seconds you should see the menu on the display. Try to connect the controller to front USB port to confirm that they both function as intended. If everything checks out, congratulations! You are now the proud owner of a Famister AV. Time to enjoy a little F-Zero, I guess. All the files for printing are available for free on my Printables account, as well as printing advice. This is quite easy to print and does fit on smaller printers, such as the Bamboo A1 Mini. You can also find other projects of mine, such as the display that you see right now, a fully 3D printable PC case called Cubic, or a former case for MiSTer, designed around the original DE10 Nano stack. Everything is freely available and entirely documented, so feel free to explore. I hope you enjoyed that video, and that your Famister will provide you as much fun to use as it provided me to design. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to write it in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them as soon as I can. In the meantime, I'll see you for our next project. Bye!